Hello everyone and welcome to the chapter number 74 of the Blender Master Course, Character Rigging, METARIG. In the previous chapter, we begin with the basics of rigging in Blender, and in this chapter, we'll try to create and attach a simple METARIG for our character that we created from the chapter number 70 to the chapter number 72 of this course. So for those of you who are new to this course, you can watch the previous 74 chapters from the link of the playlist given in the pinned comment. So we are done with the modeling of the character's body and the clothes, and so now it's the time to create a METARIG, or basically a skeleton for this character. So for this, let's first go to the solid mode. Now press Shift plus A, then go to Armature, and in the Rigify METARIGs, select Human. Also, one more thing to note here is that you might not be able to see the Rigify METARIGs option if you have not turned on the Rigify add-on in Blender, about which we learned in the previous chapter of this course. Now coming back to our scene, we need to scale up the skeleton, or basically this armature, according to the height of our character. So for this, with this METARIG selected, tab into the edit mode, press A to select everything, and let's scale it up. But right now, it's being scaled up according to the median point. To fix this, simply click on this icon, which is the transform pivot point, and select the 3D cursor. Now let's scale it up again, and we need to ensure that the height of the shoulders of the character are matching with the shoulder bones of the METARIG. Now to focus only on the skeleton, simply press the forward slash button, and now we can see here that the skeleton, or basically the METARIG or the armature, is made up of a lot of bones, and all these bones together allow the movement of a character. On the top, we have the bones related to the face, then we have the spine in the middle, which will basically be for the back, then we have the character's arm bones, the hands, and in the lower part, we have the bones for the character's legs and the feet. Also, if we want, we can select any particular bone by left clicking on it, and we can modify the METARIG by deleting a bone, and to do this, simply press X and select delete bones. Now this particular bone that we had here is now deleted, and to get it back, simply press Ctrl plus Z. One more thing, with this bone selected, if I click on this icon, which is the bone properties, then here you can see the name of this bone, which is shoulder.L, representing the bone for the left shoulder. Similarly, if I select this one, then this is named as shoulder.R, representing the bone for the right shoulder. Now in this chapter, we need to delete all those bones that we'll not require for a character. So first of all, we'll be deleting these face bones because we'll be working on the manual face rigging in one of the upcoming chapters of this course. But if I try to select each one individually and delete them, then it would take us a lot of time. And a better way to do this is to first go to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad, then press Alt plus Z to turn on the X-ray mode. And now over here, you will see this bone in the X-ray mode, where this larger one is the spine.006, but inside it we have this smaller bone which is named as the face, and this bone is basically the parent of all the bones which are available for the face rigging. In fact, we can also select all the children bones for the selected parent bone by simply pressing Shift plus G, and in the select similar menu, select children. With this, we now have all the children bones selected for this parent bone. Now to delete all of them, simply press X and select delete bones. So in this way, we easily deleted all the bones related to the face of the character. Also, for our 3D model, we created the hand with 1 thumb and 3 fingers, meaning that we should be deleting all the bones of this little finger. So let's select all 4 of these bones, then press X to delete and select delete bones. Similarly, for the other side also, we'll be selecting these 4 bones of the little finger, and to delete them, press X and select delete bones. Now moving ahead, in order to create the final rigged skeleton along with the controls, first of all, go to the object mode. Let's also turn off the X-ray mode, and to view the rest of the things, or basically to remove the focus from the METARIG, simply press the forward slash button. Now to generate the rig, go to the object data properties, then scroll down, and in the Rigify category, select generate rig. And with this, we now have this final rig skeleton created along with the controls that we'll be using while animating our character. But for now, we'll be adjusting the METARIG according to the character's body. But before that, do ensure that you have the mirror modifier applied in the modify properties for the head of the character and also for the body. So for the body of character, we have added the mirror modifier but have not applied it yet. So to fix this, click on this icon and select apply. Also, we'll be hiding the clothes of the character in order to adjust the skeleton or this METARIG properly for the character. So press H to hide the t-shirt. Similarly, I'll select the pant of the character and press H to hide. Also, I will be selecting the shoes of the character and hide them as well. Moving ahead, let's now work on adjusting the METARIG and the bones according to the character's model. So for this, let's first hide this final rig that we created. So press H to hide. Now select the METARIG in the scene collection and tap to enter the edit mode. Now press Alt plus Z to turn on the X-ray mode. Also, to hide these hair particles, let's go back to the object mode, select the head, then open the particle properties and turn off the real-time display. Now select the METARIG again and tab into the edit mode. Now in the edit mode, on the top right corner, we have this option of applying the mirroring effect, and if I turn it on in the X-axis, then whatever changes I'll do in the edit mode will get applied on both the sides according to the symmetry with respect to the x-axis. So do ensure that you have turned on the mirroring effect in the x-axis. And now to begin with adjusting the METARIG, let's first go to the front view by pressing 1 on the numpad, then select the bones of the arms and the fingers and press H to hide them. Similarly, let's also hide the bones for the arms and the fingers on this side also by pressing H, and then go to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad. Now the first bone that we have for the skeleton is named as spine.006. You can also view its name by going to the bone properties, and then over here you can see the bone name, which is spine.006. Now we need to place this bone in such a position that the top, or basically the head of the bone, is somewhere near the top of the character's head. So for this, with this top part of the bone selected, press G to move it and we'll place it over here. Then we'll select the tail of the bone and we'll place it somewhere in the middle of the neck. Similarly, the next bone that we have here is the spine.005, and we need to select the base of this bone and place it over here in somewhere around the region of the neck. Then we have this bone which is named as spine.004, so I'll select its tail, which is this tiny circle at the bottom, press G to move it and place it over here. Also, let's zoom out and we'll be selecting all the bones except for the ones that we have already adjusted and moved them in the y-axis. Now left click to finalize, let's zoom in again, and with this, most of the bones in the METARIG are now properly placed. Moving ahead, I will be hiding this particular bone, which is the bone for the left thigh, by pressing H. Similarly, let's also select this one, which is the right thigh bone, and press H to hide. Now we'll be selecting the bottom of the pelvis bones, press G to move them and place them somewhere in between the region where the upper body and the lower body is connecting. Also, one more thing to notice here is that there are two types of pelvis bones. One is the pelvis left, and to view the other one, let's go to the front view, and now over here, this one is the right pelvis bone, and this one, as we discussed earlier, is the left pelvis bone. And while moving, we selected both of them in order to place them properly in the METARIG. Moving ahead, let's also make all these bones in the upper body a bit more straight in order to increase the accuracy of the character rigging. Now press 1 on the numpad to go to the front view, select the head of the pelvis bone, press G to move it and place it over here. Now over here, we also have the shoulder bones, and to adjust them properly, I'll first select this part of the bone, press G to move it downwards in the Z-axis like this. Let's also move it away in the X-axis like this. Similarly, select this part and place it somewhere near the shoulders of the character. Then over here, we have the breast bones, and we'll place them slightly in the X-axis like this and left click to finalize. And so with this, we have now completed the rigging for the upper body of the character. Now moving to the lower part, first of all, let's unhide the thigh bones by pressing Alt plus H of the legs. Now first of all, we'll be selecting all the bones of the legs and the foot by holding the shift button, and we'll move them in the X-axis like this, and we basically need to ensure that they are placed somewhere near the center of the legs. Now I'll select this bone, which is named as the left thigh, and we need to move it downwards in the Z-axis. So for this, we'll select its head, press G to move it in the Z-axis, place it over here and left click to finalize. Now go to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad, then select this part and move it slightly upwards like this. Then select this one, press G to move it and place it in the middle of the foot. Then I'll select this part of the left toe bone and move it in such a way that it touches the front tip of the foot. Also, if I zoom in, then over here we have the heel bones, and so with both of these selected, we'll press G to move them and place them at the back part of the foot. Also, one more thing to notice here in the legs bones is that these two bones, which is the thigh bone and the shin bone, are not completely straight, and this is because we'll be having the knee joint at this place. As a result, for a better movement, it's recommended to have a small angle in between the two bones. Now moving ahead, we'll now be working on adjusting the METARIG, or basically these bones that are for the arm and the hands of character. So for this, first of all, I'll select this part connecting the two bones of the arm, press G to move it and place it over here. Then select this part, press G to move it and place it over here. Let's move it slightly in the X-axis like this and left click to finalize. Similarly, we'll be selecting all the bones of the hand of character, press G to move them, and we'll place them over here. In order to rotate them properly, first of all, in the transform pivot point, select the median point, press R to rotate it and left click to finalize. Let's place it properly again. Now press 7 on the numpad to go to the top view, zoom in, and we'll be scaling up all these bones which we have created for the hands of character. Now let's place them properly like this. Similarly, I'll select this bone and place it over here. Also, I'll select this part of the upper arm bone and we'll move it slightly in the y-axis. Now left click to finalize, and now we'll be working on placing the bones of the hand properly in the METARIG. But before that, one more thing to notice here is that the joints in between the two ending bones of any finger are not connected to each other. If I try to move one of them, then it will get disconnected with the other part. However, for a proper rigging, we need to ensure that both of them remain connected even when we move their position. So for this, first of all, press Ctrl plus Z to undo, then deselect everything, and now before moving them, we'll first select both of them together by left clicking and dragging like this, then press G to move them and place them over here. Now I'll be selecting this particular part of the bone and will move it in such a way that it is placed at the 1/3 position of the finger. Similarly, I'll select this part and place it over here. Then in the end, I'll be selecting this one and will place it at the tip of the finger. Similarly, let's do the same thing with the other fingers also. So let's place all these parts properly according to the position of fingers. So now I'll select this part, place it over here, and in the end, we'll be placing this last part at the tip of the finger. Also, to ensure that there's a little gap in between this joint part and the beginning of fingers. Let's do the same for the middle finger also, and now it looks perfect. Moving ahead, I will be selecting this joint part first for the index finger, press G to move it and place it over here. Then I'll select this part of the bone and move it over here. Moving ahead, I'll select this one, press G to move it and place it over here. And then in the end, I will select this last part and will place it at the tip of the index finger. Now for the thumb, we are having these three bones which we'll be placing properly according to the position of thumb. So first of all, with this end part selected, press G to move it and place it over here. Then select this one, press G to move it and we'll place it over here. Similarly, I'll select this one and place it somewhere near the middle of the thumb, and at last I will select this particular part of the bone and place it at the tip of the thumb. So in this way, we are having these three bones for the thumb which we have placed like this. Now over here, you can also see that we are having three palm bones. This one is the first palm bone for the left hand since it is named as palm.01L. Similarly, this one is the second bone for the left palm, and this one is the third bone for the left palm. And we basically need to place them in such a way that their ends are located somewhere near the wrist of the hand. So let's adjust their position slightly, and now they look perfect. Now moving ahead, we have one more bone over here which is named as hand.L, meaning that this one is the bone for the left hand, and we need to place its head somewhere near the joint of the middle finger and the tail part at somewhere around the wrist of the hand. Also, if I zoom out, then one more thing that we need to take care of is that just like the bones in the legs by having a slight angle in between both of them, similarly for the arms also we need to have a slight angle in between the upper arm and the forearm. So for this, we'll select this joint connecting both of them and we'll move it slightly in the y-axis, and now it looks perfect. And so with this, we have now created the rig and even adjusted it according to the character's body. However, there are still a few things that we can fix in order to make it perfect. For example, these bones for the finger are not yet properly placed. So to solve this problem, we need to select all the bones for the hand. So for this, let's first go to the top view by pressing 7 on the numpad, then zoom in. Let's select all these bones, let's change the angle, and now to make them straight, let's scale them down in the Z axis. Now left click to finalize, and now to view everything properly, press 1 to go to the front view. Let's slightly move it up in the Z axis like this. Let's also check it from the other views. So go to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad, and from this view, all the bones of the hand are looking perfectly placed. Similarly, let's also check the same by going to the top view, and from this view also, the hand that we rigged is looking completely perfect. Now moving ahead, if I select any particular bone of any finger, then in the bone properties, you can see here that we have a parameter known as the roll, and this one controls the rotation of the bone around the head and the tail axis. In most of the cases, this roll value will be somewhere close to -180 degrees for all the bones of the fingers. However, in order to make them exact -180 degrees, we'll simply select one of the bones, go to the roll value and enter -180. Then to input the same roll value for all the other bones in the fingers, we need to select the bones individually first, and then at last we'll be selecting that bone in which we have entered the correct roll value. So we have now selected all the finger bones except this one. So with the shift key holded, I will be selecting this one at last, which is having the roll value equal to -180 degrees, and to assign the same roll value to all the other bones, simply go to the armature menu, then in the bone roll, go to recalculate roll and select active bone. And now if I select any particular bone, then in the bone properties, you can see that the roll value will either be -180 degrees or +180 degrees. So for this selected bone, the roll value is +180 degrees. However, if I select this one, then the roll value is equal to -180 degrees. Now the reason why some of these bones are having a roll value equal to -180 degrees, whereas for some others the value is equal to 180 degrees, is that between the values of -180 degrees and +180 degrees, there is a difference of 360 degrees. And we all know that the object will return to its original state if we rotate it by 360 degrees. You can also check this by going to the roll parameter. So with this particular bone selected, if I begin to change the roll value from positive 180 degrees and begin to reduce it and will bring it to minus 180 degrees, then you will notice that the rotation of the bone will again be in the same state. So you can check this thing on your own, that if I increase the roll value by 360 degrees, then it will again return back to the same position. Also, if I go to the top view again, then it might be possible that even after selecting some particular bones, the roll value is still not equal to plus or minus 180 degrees. So in such cases, we don't need to change the value of roll manually, and we'll keep them fixed at only that value that we got by using the recalculate roll. Now moving ahead, we'll be doing the same procedure for the right hand also. So for this, let's zoom into the right hand. Now we'll select any particular bone and in the roll value, ensure that minus 180 degrees is entered, and now we'll be selecting all the bones apart from the one that we have selected right now. So for this, first I'll be selecting the thumb bones, then we'll move to the index finger, then the middle finger of the hand, and then we'll be selecting the little finger, and at last make sure to select that particular finger whose roll value was equal to minus 180 degrees. Now go to the armature menu, then in the bone roll, go to recalculate roll and select the active bone. And so with this, the roll value will now change to either positive 180 degrees or negative 180 degrees. But in this case also, the roll value for some of the bones will still not be exactly minus or positive 180 degrees. But as I told you earlier, we don't need to worry about that. Now moving ahead, we'll now be adjusting the bone rotation axis for the fingers. In this part, we'll basically select all the first bones of the fingers, then we'll press Ctrl plus Tab and switch to the pose mode. Then in the bone properties, we'll go to the rigify type, and in the bend rotation axis, we'll change this from automatic to the X manual. Similarly, I'll select this bone, go to the rigify type, and in the bend rotation axis, we'll change this to the X manual as well. Now let's do the same for this bone also. Similarly, for the thumb also, we'll change the bend rotation axis to the X manual. Now let's do the same thing for the right hand also. So for this, we'll be selecting the first bone of the finger, then we'll go to the bend rotation axis and we'll change this to the X manual. Similarly, let's do the same for this finger also. So we'll change this to the X manual. Just like this, we'll select this bone and in the bend rotation axis, select the X manual, and let's do the same thing for the bone in the thumb also. And now with this, we now have the complete meta rig ready for our character. So with this, let's now enter the object mode. Also, go to the scene collection and unhide the rig, and now you can see here that all the adjustment that we made in the edit mode of the meta rig are not automatically changed for the rig that we generated. And to solve this problem, select the meta rig again, then go to the object data properties, scroll down, and in the rigify category, click on the regenerate rig. However, you can see here that it shows us the rigify error, and it states that this particular bone named as spine.004 is not properly placed since the bone position is disjoint. Now it might be possible that for your character, this particular error was not generated, but in most of the cases, it's certainly possible to see such kind of errors. So now let's work on understanding about why we see that particular error and how we can fix this. So first of all, tab into the edit mode, go to the front view by pressing 1 on the numpad, let's zoom in, and now you can see here that if I select this particular bone and go to the bone properties, then its name is saved as spine.004, and this is that particular bone about which Blender told us while giving the rigify error. So what basically happened was that the tail end of this spine.004 bone had to be connected or basically joined properly with the head of the spine.003. So in some particular cases, it is important that while adjusting the meta rig, we need to ensure that both of them are selected together and then moved around. However, in this case, we did not take care of this fact, and as a result, we received this error. So to solve this problem, return back to the object mode, then go to the scene collection, and with the rig selected, press X to delete it. Now after deleting the rig, select the meta rig in the scene collection, tab into the edit mode, let's zoom in, and now first of all, we need to select the head of the spine.003, and then with the shift key holded, select the tail of the spine.004, then right click, select snap, and in this list, we'll be selecting the selection to active. And now if we return back to the object mode, let's also zoom out. Now with the meta rig selected, go to the object data properties, then scroll down, and then we have the rigify category, and from here, click on the regenerate rig. And now you will notice that Blender will successfully generate the rig after we have done the changes in the spine bone of the meta rig. Now the reason for generating this rig is that we actually use this particular rig in order to animate our character and not the meta rig. We basically use the meta rig to edit the bones and place them properly according to the character's body. Then we generate the final rig, which is to be used in the animation, and this is named as the rig in the scene collection. So for now, we'll be hiding the meta rig from our scene. Now moving ahead, we'll now work on connecting this rig that we generated to the character's body. Right now, we have only generated the rig, but we can't use it in order to modify or animate the character. So for this, let's first turn off the X-ray mode, then I'll select the head of the character first and we'll join it with the character's body. So press Ctrl plus J to join them together. Now with the body selected, hold down the shift button and select the rig. And now to define a relationship between the character's body and the rig, go to the object menu. Then in the parent, we have this option of armature deform, and in this, we'll be selecting armature deform with automatic weights. Now it might take some time to define the relationship of parent and child in between the rig and the character's body. And once it is done, if I select the rig, then press Ctrl plus Tab to enter the pose mode. Then all of these are the different controls that you can use to animate your character. And collectively, these are known as the Rigify controls. To understand this with the help of an example, if I select this box in the middle and press G to move it, then you will notice that the character's body is also moving along with the cube. Similarly, if I select this hand control and press R to rotate it, then you will notice that the specific part of the hand is also rotating because of it. Also, if you make any changes in the pose mode and want to reset the pose, then for this, simply go to the pose menu, then in the clear transform, select all, and this will clear the transform for that particular control that you have selected in the pose mode. Currently, I selected only the cube, and as a result, the changes that we did to the cube have now disappeared. However, to make this happen, for all the controls, press A to select everything, then go to the pose menu, select clear transform, and in this list, select all. So in this way, you can reset the controls in the pose mode. Now let's return back to the object mode, and one more thing is that if I select the character's body and go to the modify properties, then for better deformations while creating the animation, it is suggested to place the armature modifier above the subdivision surface modifier. So to do this, left click over here and drag it above the subdivision surface modifier. And so now we have learnt about connecting the rig and the character's body together by using the parenting option, and we'll also be learning about the different types of Rigify controls that are available in the pose mode in the upcoming chapters of this course. And so with this, we now arrive to the end of this chapter. Today, we created this meta rig which we used to generate this final rig that we'll be using for the animation purposes. We also learnt about fixing the error that you might see while generating the rig. And so our next chapter will be the chapter number 75, character rigging, Rigify controls. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press that notification bell so that you can get timely updates about the upcoming chapters. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.